purpose. Virgin Pie. Welcome to Sexual Frequency, a non-judgmental place where we could play, explore, and vibe into the new paradigm of sex and intimacy together. I'm your host, Goddess Lore, and tonight, y'all, when I tell you we have a fucking treat, we have a treat tonight because we had to do it right for our season two finale. Um, we wanted to give you some additional tools, for your embodiment journey. And tonight we have with us some mushroom cultivators. You're going to meet them in just a minute. We're going to talk about all the ways that supports us in our embodiment journey, in our conscious living, just all the things, guys. I'm a little litty. You could tell. I don't know if you could tell. It's fucking warm up in here. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Are you a little warm too, Rick?
We're already a little litty here.
Listen, yes, we're having some drinks. Yeah, season 2. We will definitely drink to that.
Still have technical difficulties here with this.
Oh,
I'm sure there's music in the background, but
we're
I can't
good.
hear it,
Priestess, let us know how are the
Priestess,
vibes. Can we hear the music? So tonight it's a very special episode because, as you could see, like, you can only see Rick and I, but we have 2 guests in the studio who are just making me crack up right now. I think they're excited. They're ready to go.
High Priestess says it's a gummy party.
Yo, it's a gummy party. I don't know. I'm second guessing my choices right now.
Pues ni modo, ya que.
Woo! Okay. You know what it is, Rick? That I can't hear music, so I feel like I'm not in the vibe and the frequency yet. But I'm sure we'll get there. We'll get there for sure. Yeah, so tonight we have 2 very special guests. They will not be appearing on camera, but we are very happy to be welcoming for the very first time. It is Virgin Vibes up in here. You know how much I love Virgin Vibes, guys. Like, I love Virgin Vibes. And our 2 guests, this is their very first podcast. So I'm honored that you guys have decided to be on Sexual Frequency, that this is your first podcast, because then you can say that, Goddess Lore and Rick rock with the hard cock popped your cherry. I'm juiced. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our introduction. So with us, we have 2 mushroom cultivators. We have Jay and A joining us.
Hi,
welcome
guys,
to the
doing?
show.
My name is Jay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alex.
Yeah, so y'all felt that vibe, right? Like, A is in the sexual frequency vibe. I feel it already, having orgasms over here. So welcome to the show, guys. I wanted to start off with just introductions. If you guys could just say a little bit about yourself and how you met, maybe what got you started on the journey.
So me, Jay, and A met about 2009.
Mm-hmm.
We met in culinary school. So besides being mushroom cultivators, we're both actually 2 chefs as well.
Okay.
So we met in culinary schools. We went our own paths in that world. Worked for a while in that realm, and then about 6.5 years ago, or 6 years ago, more give or take, A invited me to come out to California.
Good job, A. Good job.
On a get out here and learn some new stuff. And I took the leap of faith, leaving Miami and coming to California. We got here, we dabbled in a bunch of different things in the culinary world. And eventually, about 3.5 years ago, we decided to get into the mushroom cultivation business. It was something that was dear in heart to us for the actual part of the wellness that brings to a lot of people and ourselves. It connects us to our inner self, most than anything else.
Yeah.
It makes us learn about ourselves. So that's a little bit about how we met, and what we kind of do. We've developed a strong bond between each other. for a very long time.
I can feel it.
A lot of
Yeah, I
trustworthy.
can feel it.
You know, when it came to cooking back in the day, and whatever we did today, we tag out the work, and Alex decides to cook sometimes, and then
Mm-hmm.
I decide to plate the food to work in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no like battling of what's doing, even though we both do it. It's
Right.
easier to like work with flow.
Yeah.
We like to keep a yin yang kind of approach to everything. Like you said, we
Nice.
need a balance. So, just like in life, everything needs a harmony and a balance.
I didn't mean to laugh because what you said was actually quite beautiful, but I think just A is just turning it on for the show. He ain't even on camera. Imagine if he was on camera. Oh man, we would be in some serious trouble. Rick, I see the chat going. Let us know who's up there if
Okay,
you
yeah.
can.
Yeah. It's pretty far. But hey, we got, I think it's Jay Rizzy. Jay Rizzy in there saying I ate some. I'm microdosing.
Microdosing, love
Actually,
it.
even before that, because the chat's pretty hot today. There we go. So he's saying we in here, or they are saying we in here. High Priestess is in here. I feel like I should eat these mushrooms right now. LOL. High Priestess said you
Yes.
should.
Do not
I
hesitate.
should have a gummy too. Join the party, LOL. And then yeah, that's it. We're caught up right here. So
Yes, join the party. It's a
It's a s-
Shroomie party.
High Priestess says it's the smooth jams. Is that right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think she's talking about A's voice because A's just like, we're here in the yin and the yang and, the balance. And he's bringing all the, what did she say? Slow jams vibes.
Slow jam.
The power love hour.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, not us channeling Art LeBeau right now.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Art LeBeau.
This is
You
Art
guys might
LeBeau.
not know
Salud.
Art LeBeau, but we will do a toast to Art LeBeau.
Absolutely.
He is he's an LA native, I believe. He had a show for decades where he really brought the scene of oldies, out to, like, you talk to any Latinos out here, they'd be like listening to Art LeBeau all the time. And he had like a dedication hour. And particularly, it was like inmates would send messages, and it was a beautiful
So
thing.
kinda
Shout
like
out to Art
The
LeBeau.
power, like, kind of power love. Hi, honey.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
miss you because you've been in there for 6 years, and I love you.
Exactly,
Yeah, got it,
exactly.
got it.
Like, I'm gonna wait for you, boo.
Yeah.
All of those
With your
things.
cousin in bed, but that's fine. When we get out, I'll be there.
Hey, listen, whatever you got to do to make it work, we could do that. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you because it seems like you brought Jay into the scene of, were you already in the field of cultivating mushrooms, or is that something you guys started together?
Well, the cultivation of mushrooms started when we were already together. It was something that I asked him I need to step away from what we were doing. COVID was just hitting, and we
Right.
were trying to figure out something to just maintain the mind busy and to do something, while we're closed up because we really didn't have an idea of how long we were going to
Mhm.
be in that situation. So I it took about 6 months of learning and playing around until we got to that first stage of getting a mushroom
Mhm.
and then actually being able to eat the fruits of your labor,
Yeah.
which was one of the most incredible things. I remember doing that and looking at Jay and just staring at him like, "Hey, have you ever grown your own drug and tried it before?" And then I just walked away and like, "Wow, we're about to try something that we grew,
Yeah.
and we have no idea what to expect." But everything that came from it was just amazing because it was like it came from our intent, from how we grew it, and it was just beautiful from there. And then from there, it just kept on going. And
I would love to hear more about that because I think with mushrooms, intention that goes side hand in hand, right? It's like hand in glove. Can you guys talk a little bit about the intention behind your product, how you grew it, or what it is that you were really wanting to do with it?
Absolutely. So based on that story he just said, that night, we'll go back to that night because that's the night that we actually spoke about creating a
Mhm.
product. It was something like it was the initiation of what we wanted to do, what we were doing. Right with a bottle just like this of Glenlivet between us and funny about we were having that conversation and ask him not. Um, we were both TV died. Believe it or not, we were just talking about it. It was like this feeling that we're creating is such a heartwarming embodiment of what you're actually growing.
Mm.
And how do we pass this along to other people to have
Yeah.
that same thing,
Right.
same feeling, that same joy uh, that we were having that in that given moment.
Mm-hmm.
So we set out to figure that out by creating a product,
Yes.
and that started at somewhere in 2020 and like April of that year,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't come to fruition until January this year.
Mm.
So, like everything else, we planted the seed
Yes.
and we watered it and watered it and watered it until we saw a tree come up.
I love it.
So that was a very culminating point for us to
Mm.
actually see something that we put together from like A to Z, and then be able to to give it to others to enjoy and for their well-being.
Mm. Listen, I'm really like in it right now, like with what you're saying and the intention behind what you're doing. I was recently in Tulum for a Tantra Fest where we did do plant medicine, and there was someone there from Alaska, and he says he made a comment to we're not rediscovering these things, we're just like reawakening to it. And so I feel like when you said the seed being planted, I feel like you are cultivating the seeds that our ancestors have laid for us. And it's now is the time. It's like this great, almost like reawakening to come back to our roots, to come back home. And that's really what embodiment is, also, right? It is breaking down all of the constructs that keep us in a box and coming back home to our body and really being with ourselves as divine beings. um I feel like there's such a deep connection with mushrooms when you do that, because mushrooms just they help you be in it, you know? Like, at least my experiences, Rick and I, the first time I did shrooms of actual, like, dried shrooms, it was Rick and I were together, and we had another friend with us, but at that point, we were lacking still intention, you know, when we weren't really coming at it from a point of, like, medicine. I was more like, "Hey, I've never done it, I wanna try it, like, let's see what it feels like." And now, just with me, the things that are awakening for me, right, like on my sexual frequency journey, it's like it's this wanting to come home, not even come home, but just to be um in the space where you feel it, right, where you just really feel in your body. And I want you guys to talk a little bit more of that, because that really comes along with conscious living, right? And I think we are awakening. There's a lot of paradigms that are shifting, and a lot of us are kind of tired of these boxes and these constructs. And we're like, man, fuck all that. We got to burn that shit down. But we're so much in our mind about things. So, can you talk about, maybe we go to the history a little bit about mushrooms and the connection of doing it, in community?
And I love how you brought that up because
Mm.
that is one of the biggest things that's gotten lost, especially over years, maybe hundreds, if not thousands of years. Colonizing of the people in South
Say it
America,
again.
colonizing
Yeah.
of the people in South America, because that is where a lot of this magic comes from, and the guidance and how we used to take it back in the day. It wasn't meant for us to take it alone or go and do it behind someone's back, or let me go do it over here. No, in back in the days, you would probably do it with your village. The village
Yes.
elders will probably come and watch as the ones who took it previously overlooked the ones who are
Mhm.
gonna take it,
Right.
and they'll be in commune. It wasn't no hiding. It was like maybe a ritual, a coming of age, And you probably had maybe the few that would maybe lose it or spaz out a little bit, but
Mhm.
they were there and they can count on their community, their
Yes.
people to take care of them. And
Mhm.
then maybe they'll get pulled in afterwards and they can go through it and they can work on, the visions of what they saw. Or if, you were scared, they could help you with that,
Mhm.
and then help you come back from that journey. And that is what's mainly lost because you have so many individuals from young to old that there's no guidance. There's no, how do I go about this?
Right.
And they almost feel kind of like when they have it, they're like kind of guilty or like, oh, I'm doing something bad. And
Mhm.
it's reprogramming the mind from this is a drug to plant medicine. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And this allows you to create a relationship with yourself.
Mhm.
This is the tool that allows you to access your inner self and be able to really get to know who you are, where you're from, and be able to move forward with that. And what you're trying to do with the sexual frequency and everything. This being able to know who you are and being able to be
Yes.
comfortable with yourself, then you can then move on and give yourself to someone. Not give yourself to someone being full of like anguish or this all this turmoil,
Shame. Yeah.
being able to give a nice clean vessel
Yeah.
to your partner, so you guys can, because the exchange of energies that happen when you guys, have sex or intercourse, however you want to go about it,
Mhm.
it's an exchange of energy. You're plugging into one another, and it's your responsibility to be able to have a clean vessel for your partner, especially if you respect your partner and you want to have, very a good time or a good experience.
Right.
It all starts with that from the beginning, and with yourself. Because if you go in and either have alternative motives or you're not in right mind, or
Right.
and or your vessel is tainted, you're not bringing the same experience to the partner. So, and I see the mushrooms can help a lot in this space, and probably not in the way that maybe people think, not taking it and trying to have an intimate relationship at that moment. No, it's
Right.
it's probably to do it on your own and for the person to do it and do it together, and then the sexual experience comes after.
Yeah.
Not on the mushrooms. So, and
Yeah, I love that. And so that's what we talk about here, right? Like people hear sexual frequency and they think, oh, she's going to teach us how to fuck or how to suck dick. And it's like, no, the biggest thing about being the best lover you could be is your mindset and how you are within your body, how comfortable you are. So, yes, absolutely. What you're saying, like it's all of these other factors that contribute to us having amazing sex, right? It's all of the things, mental
oh
health,
yeah,
if you guys want to touch base on the mental health, and because we're hearing now, we know that the FDA has recently lifted I guess money or the ability to do trials. However, it's almost like a recolonizing, right? Like I wanted to say one more point to what you said. Also, the people who are now wanting to give us the medicine don't look like us. They're white people, and they are teaching us about our own medicine. We can say that here on the show, and I have white friends and I love them and I appreciate them, but that is just the reality of what it is. And I think it is really time for us to take that shit back.
oh yeah. And
Yeah.
when you say that, it's funny because the only the only part in the world that we refer to people in white or black is in the United States. Because in Europe and stuff like that, a white person, you would speak to them and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm from Ireland, or I'm Swedish, or
Right.
I'm this, I'm that." So in a way, like, I feel bad for a lot of the American white people here
Hmm.
because they're probably one of the most lost because they have nothing. They have no one. They have
You
no
think
history to
so?
look back.
I don't know
No,
about that.
Absolutely.
no, yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't know about that.
they have no background. They unless they're from Europe, they have no. They just say I'm white. From where? America.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
from
but
where?
everybody has roots, and I feel like
But that's all they say
of all of the
is all
peoples, the
white.
white peoples are the ones that when they do their DNA, they can very much trace to like you're from here or you're from here versus like when
Well,
people of color do it, it's a
I'm
little
not talking
more.
about the DNA. I'm just talking about like they still refer to themselves as a color instead of
Yeah,
I'm. You know what I mean? They should be saying I'm North American or something, but they can't even say
right.
that. You get me?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I can
you
understand
get
that.
me?
I don't
Like,
feel bad for white people though,
no, I don't feel bad for them.
especially
I'm just saying,
especially the
like, I
ones
feel
here
like
in America.
they're pretty affected because it's
I
like
like the way they dance.
they don't
It's
have
the best.
they don't there's no background for them. At least here in America, at least here in America, like we come from the South, like, and I feel the pain a lot for a lot of the African Americans over there because of them being brought over here and not knowing where I'm from, it's very hard for them, the identity of
Mhm.
what they are. They just
Yeah.
know that they're, like they're being
Right.
born here, but
I
they
see
don't
what
really
you're
know
saying.
where they're from. Like they should be saying I'm Congoan, or I'm African, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
Czech. Like
Right.
all these things, or they could be proud of, but they're stuck to be called a color.
Yeah. I mean, I
You
think
know,
it's
I'm happy we
similar.
don't get called a
Like,
color as
listen,
Hispanics. We
like,
get
oh
called a Hispanic,
no,
which is
hold
still
up.
kind of
Because
bad.
listen, I just went for new hire paperwork and I had to identify myself as white because there is nothing on the list of races that is anything Latino. You have to identify as white or like
Yeah,
Spanish or whoever
yeah,
your conqueror was. So,
it's
I mean,
crazy.
our plights are different, but I feel like we're getting a
Mm.
little bit off topic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm just saying we have to take it back. We have to take the medicine back and be able to be the ones to talk about this and not gatekeep. And then also it's like the not allowing, we talked about this a little bit, right? Like the recolonization of
Yeah.
like if pharma gets into um, mushrooms.
The big discussion being had today is how do we accept or don't accept that happening? It's been around for thousands of years. It's been used in community, in ancestral tribes for years and years before anybody was colonized. Um, and today, like you said, it's a new awakening.
Hmm.
So the awareness that we're trying to promote and the community we're trying to build is of the older crowd as well. Like people that are between 35 and 70
Hmm.
that have lived long enough to understand those topics
Hmm.
and also teach the young kids also about those topics, you
Right.
know? And that awakening could happen for everyone, not by using mushrooms, but just having the sense of consciousness and awareness that the community brings. And that's the main goal.
Hmm.
In the lack of information that we live with, you know,
Yeah.
because we don't look for information, right? This day and age, we see information. People look at something and they think that's it, instead of really investing their time
Right.
and really evoking themselves and what they want to speak about.
Yeah. They look at the one thing or they hear the
Yeah,
one
they hear the
story.
one story,
Hmm.
the one post, the one meme, the
Yeah.
one everything, and they take
Right.
it for granted as like this is it,
Mhm.
you know? And that's for a lot of things. So the awareness that we're trying to promote is the fact that we could have another option. We don't have to convive by the constraints that we live with. We don't have to live in the culture that we live in. We could rebuild our subculture and bring back that that we talk
Yes.
about.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to, most and foremost, besides even the product, is the information given to the consumer.
Mhm. Yes.
You know, we want the consumer to be someone that is educated beforehand
Right.
trying our product, because it's the only way. Like Big Pharma does in the commercial, they'll talk you about Zavazil, whatever the names they make up, right?
That was
And they'll
pretty
tell you that
accurate.
it has, you can take it, but it has XYZ
Side
side
effects.
effects.
Right?
Yeah.
That
Anal leakage.
Anal
that's
Like
the
leakage.
what
most
the
favorite one to
fuck?
everybody in
Yeah.
the commercial, first and foremost, people. So like,
There's one that was saying there was one side effect that would lead you to start gambling. That was one medicine.
that's like
That was
that's
funny.
great. That's like great if you have a sports
Funny.
album, you like
Yeah.
sports.
Well, but I mean that's why it's funny. Like like you're saying. I mean, like to just to get your point. Like yeah, the drugs are bad in the end. I mean, there's so many fucking side effects.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
So
what's the point? You know what I mean? It's gonna fuck something else up.
exactly. So like, there's a lot of discussion being had also between who can take this, right? Like, not every this is not for everyone.
Mhm.
Like everything else in life, some people can't drink alcohol; they just act a fool. It just it is
Yes,
what it
not just
is.
not in their
You know.
constitution to do it.
So the the whole thing is informing the person correctly so they can make a wise decision on what they
Mhm.
want to event. We always say that intent is important
Yes.
because it's appropriate that if you're gonna do something, the outcome is what you want out of it,
Mhm.
not just doing it because it's a fad or this and that.
Right.
Like I'm 40 years old. I've been shrooming since I'm like 13.
Hmm.
When I was a young kid,
Right.
it was like about let's go to a rave and let's see colors and music bounce and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
But then as you get older, you start noticing that it's more of a really takes you to places where you could learn about yourself and learn about the ones around you and really take that knowledge to help yourself and help others.
Hmm.
And that's what we're trying to do at the end of the day.
I love it. That I mean, it's like bringing back that ancestral wisdom, and with that is the conversations, the information, giving all that, being in community. I want guys to talk a little bit about. You mentioned it earlier, or maybe this was off air, where we were talking about the network, the mushroom network. So let's talk a little bit about that because.
Okay, cool. So excuse me. So mycelium connection and mycelium networks live amongst us on an everyday basis.
Mhm.
You know, any green tree, any plant that's in a forest or something or in a jungle has mycelium under it. Mycelium is kind of like a neural network,
Mhm.
just like our nervous system in a sense,
Right.
that communicate with trees in order to continue the forest the way it works and the jungles the way they work. They communicate by saying, "Oh, this tree needs water on this side," and they'll send water from these tree from the other tree's roots to this tree just to
Mhm.
provide for this tree.
Mhm.
There's the biggest mycelium connection in the world is really close to us. It's in Oregon. It's
Oh,
2,200 acres.
no wonder Oregon's so magical.
It is. There's a lot of magical places in Oregon.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the biggest mycelium connection in the world
Mhm.
lies in Oregon. I don't know if it's in northern Oregon or southern Oregon, but
Mhm.
it's 2,200 acres underground
Wow.
that if you see it from space, you can actually see it
It is the
Wow.
oldest organism on this
on this
planet.
planet, known to man.
That touched me
Yeah.
Yeah,
like kind of deep.
yeah.
I'm
And another
shrooming,
thing is
guys. I'm shrooming.
we share, I think, about 30% of our DNA with mushrooms.
Say that one more time
We share about
because
30% of our DNA with mushrooms.
mm,
Wow.
That's if you try to think about that, it's like what? It
right,
is.
it takes you
It's
to places, it takes you to places for sure. And that's beautiful because the way you're talking about the connection, how they talk to each other to keep all of the organisms like alive and thriving, which is really what community does, is supposed to do, right? Is take care of each other, make sure that we're thriving, that we're okay. Hey, you got some water, you need some food, you got some gelatina that they brought for
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
things like that. Like that's what community is, just so fucking important. um mm, that was really yummy to hear that. Like it's the oldest, say it again, it's the oldest
it's the
organism.
oldest organism on the planet.
Oh, that got
Living
me
organism.
living.
Is the oldest living organism on planet
Wow,
Earth.
that's really really juicy. That's a new one for me. The oldest living organism. I'm hot. Okay. um so when I was in Tulum and somebody was talking about mushrooms, they mentioned a concept that I had never heard before, the alien thing. Can you guys talk about that?
The alien thing in what sense?
In the sense that we talked a little bit about
Got
it.
it. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
about it coming on a comet.
Yeah.
They didn't exactly say that part, but I'll
Well,
let you.
they say that mushroom spores can survive in outer space.
Mm,
So they say that the idea of it coming to Earth and landing on Earth in a comet, and then eventually, when the time was right, it, it
growing.
popped, it grew,
Right,
and
right.
it connects with the ape theory, where they say supposedly a monkey
Hmm.
found something that grew out of some poop and then ate it, and then it started
Conscious, awaken
becoming
consciousness.
consciousness and becoming, and then from there it just started to either share it or
Mm,
or become more and more aware. And then just like anything, with generation after generation, maybe it starts to become like something that's like a tradition, or like when we find this is the magic thing. And
right.
you start awakening the few. And then once you awaken the few, as the generations go, the ones being born awaken. So, and
Mm.
it's I think that's kind of like what you were touching on, because that's what I've heard about it coming in and hitting on the planet of the mushrooms, and they're like little seed banks of information.
And you mentioned something, Jay, yesterday too about taking, when we take it, it's
Yeah,
like a.
yeah. So what I mentioned to you is that there's also a theory that people talk about all the time. It says like, what if the mushrooms landed here, and when we ingest them, they're having the human experience opposed to us having experience with them. And you think about that,
That's pretty fucking cool.
and then you think
Let me be
about that.
your host.
Yeah,
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 where they're using us kind of like a
Yeah.
host to walk around and have this kind of like mushroom in a human experience. So we kind of like see kind of like how they're seeing it in
Mm.
through, and they're using
Mhm.
us to
And,
walk
and
around and live,
feeling
feel what's going on.
feeling
Yeah.
everything, because
literally, because as a mushroom, you think about it, he just grows and just sits there.
yeah.
Opposed to like, let's ingest and let's walk around, let's just see other stuff that we don't get to do because we're stuck there.
Yeah.
But it's a cool theory.
Yeah, it is.
It's something that like anything's possible. Like I don't deny anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool theory too, because if you think about it, like how the networks also grow, right? Could be that way. Is like you're ingesting, you're seeing like what's out there, what's in other places.
Also,
And it's
it,
like
bring,
the communication
it brings the
goes
community
back.
together. Like
Yes.
the big thing here today is that in the past,
Mm.
I'm gonna say mushrooms have been, stigmatized for since the early '60s. During the whole psychedelic war on drugs,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Vietnam War type of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So, um, there's been a stigma against it forever, right? And then today, people are, like you said, having that awakening and the sense of community that's building around this awakening, right, is becoming more far fetched than we ever thought. Like the cannabis community has been together for, I don't know, since 2005 over here, like
Mhm.
when they first let people start, or 1995 or 96, when they started letting people smoke in California under the medical
Mhm.
Prop 15 type of stuff.
Right.
And it took almost 30 years
Right.
for it to get to where it's at today, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
The way that this is moving today and the awareness is happening in the past 5 years is unparalleled. It's people are all over the country, all over the world,
Mhm.
are really evoking themselves because they're tired of taking pills that
Yeah.
really don't do anything to them. They just numb out the situation, and instead of working through the problem, you're numbed out to the problem,
Yeah.
and you still have the problem at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So learning how to cope is one thing, but learning how to work through the problem and learning more about yourself and in advancing in a mental and emotional and a spiritual way
Right.
is important because the constructs are all over.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think what was expected to happen was, with all of this boom of medication for depression and anxiety and all of these things, was that it was going to like help people, and that was going to kind of like decrease. But what's happening is that it's not decreasing, it is increasing. Suicide is up, all of these things. And I think it's that part of the waking up to your God, I don't know, I want to say ancestral wisdom, is also advocating for yourself, right? Is saying, what are the natural things that are out here that can support me in this journey? I saw a meme actually the other day where it was like, as a society, we have to all come to grips that like talk therapy and medication is not the end all be all. Like that is like, while listen, I've been to therapy. I enjoyed my time when I was in therapy, but therapy alone does not solve whatever it is that you're going through. We have to get to a place where human touch is something that is valued again, and it's not something that is like shunned upon, right? Like medicine, nature, all of these things. people are advocating for themselves. You hear a lot, like there's people in our circles that say like, I've been microdosing on my own and it has helped me with my anxiety, with my depression, whatever the case may be. I know somebody who recently said like, I can't smoke marijuana and like go to work, but I can microdose shrooms and go to work and be totally functional and be a mom and be all of these things, and it's supporting me in these ways that I didn't imagine. Although there is a correct way to microdose, right?
Absolutely.
Like, if I don't know if you guys wanted to touch a little bit upon that. I just want to say, because I forgot to mention this at the top of the show, is that um we are not medical professionals. We are speaking from our own experiences and our own perspectives. Me as a user,
As a
me as
current user,
me as a current user. I don't want to say user. User has a very
yeah,
bad.
it's a
Consumer.
Me as a partaker of
and an
medicine,
advocate
an advocate
There you
of
go.
medicine, and these gentlemen as cultivators of medicine.
of activists and advocates
Yes,
for this.
advocates, blah, 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 activists, all of those things. However, these are our opinions, and while we have seen what it has done in community and in our lives, this is not to be used as a substitution for medical advice. I think legally we have to say that.
Yes.
And legally done with that.
Yes. Moving on.
Ricky, is there anything going on in the chat?
Just High Priestess was, saying big facts, fuck big pharma. She did have a comment earlier that said aliens only. So I don't know what that was referencing, but
All right, the
either way,
aliens are
yeah.
having an
it
experience
might,
right now
have
through
been,
us.
yeah, it was a little before that, but yeah, I would think that's what it's about. So what was that? Yeah, you're right.
Because we're aliens or the mushrooms are
Nope.
aliens. We're all the same thing.
Mm.
Oh.
This is the melting pot smorgasbord.
We also have Daisy in the building. Shout out
Shout
to
out to
Daisy. She is a friend of the show. She's been here many a time, so we appreciate her definitely being here. I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit.
Tuck everlasting.
Okay, not me earlier. Like, I don't know what the fuck I said, and Liz was talking shit because I said it all like Baisa, and I was all, God damn, okay. And now I'm all fucking this up. It don't matter because we all good up in here.
She says she's the Eggman. I am the Eggman.
I'm the walrus.
All right, go girl.
I wanted to talk a little bit about how we can use mushrooms in the realm of sex and intimacy, because you talked about the ways that, like, how we can be better, like, for ourselves in doing mushrooms kind of on our own. Do you guys have any sort of hot take or information on um sex and intimacy, because this is what we talk about here?
So I have a few things we could talk about when
Okay.
it comes to that.
Dale.
There's many different use for psychedelics.
Mhm.
First and foremost, most people use them to party and stuff like that, which is
Right.
great. But as far as like mental health
Mm.
and being aware and conscious living, right? We can use psychedelics to learn about ourselves, right? And really learn how to love ourselves, which is important.
Oh.
Yeah.
How could we sit here and try to love someone else
Mhm.
if they don't love themselves?
Yeah.
Facts.
True. So that a lot of people
Mhm.
have trauma or other type of sexual history that it doesn't let them be vulnerable or intimate or be able to share
Feel
themselves
safe, yeah.
or safe or share themselves with someone, right? So for XYZ occasions, it could be there were some type of molestation when they were a kid, or an ex-boyfriend they used to beat the crap out of them, vice versa. It could be girl boy.
Mhm.
This day and age people get beat up all the time. And they have to overcome that and for the next partner to have that intimacy with them. So right,
If not, they carry it over and they kind of bring that trauma over and they cheat other person, which had nothing to do with it. But it's like, you're already predisposed to something. So and
it's
Yeah.
it's
it makes a lot of
it's
sense of what you're saying.
it's
You're
it's
repeating the
it's
cycle.
that pre-programming that happens
Mhm.
that you can't unjustify what's happening to you because it's already happened to you, right? So then you have to reprogram yourself, and that's where the mushrooms come in.
Helps you release that trauma. Think about a cup. It's already full. You already had you're at your limit, and the cup is about to pour over. But you had something that you could just help you pour that cup out. So now you have that room to be able to fill it up again. You know,
With good vibes.
yeah.
Have you either of you had any personal experience when it comes to that, like releasing any type of trauma um, through the use of mushrooms?
We've we've had our releases of trauma in various different ways. Yeah, like everybody else in their experience, they'll have their own release because releasing trauma is very personal. Everyone
Right.
is gonna hold trauma in differently. And we actually went to this thing back in September called the Integratron,
Mm.
and we did a sound bath over there
Mm.
in Joshua Tree, and we brought 16 other people with us, and we saw how with plant medicine and with sound
And frequency.
frequency.
Don't forget the frequency.
No pun
Um,
intended.
wow, we saw a whole room of people release
Mhm.
all different. They didn't have to speak. They all released their trauma in all
Right.
different types of ways. You know, and for the men, especially the men who have problems maybe talking because they want to put up this front because they're a man, how society portrays them that they have to be.
Mhm.
Um, they're able to release these things that they didn't even know they had to release. You know, they just and they keep it
Right.
inside. And once they release that, to see the person afterwards is like night and day. It's like seeing someone completely reborn at a current age and like ready to take on the world again because the cup is empty. They're ready to
Yeah.
like, all right, throw whatever you want at me.
And that's beautiful, right? Because you could see the energetic shift. Like if you took a picture of somebody before that
Oh,
event and then a picture of
that
somebody
would have
after,
been
it's like,
great. Oh man, we
yo,
should have done that.
like you're a different person. You know,
Absolutely.
I just in Mexico recently, I had that experience. I did some plant medicine and I was like, bitch, who is you?
You was
Okay,
like,
damn.
is that really loading? Or it's like, who's that?
Yeah,
You
I
know?
was like 2.0,
Yeah,
baby, let's
exactly.
go.
So I'll give you a
Yes.
quick story about that day that we went to the
Mhm.
Joshua Tree. We went out there with a few of our coworkers and other people who are also in the industry,
Right.
right? And one of our coworkers, he was dosed on plant medicine,
Mhm.
not in a high dose, but in a good dose,
Mhm.
where he was gonna have a full, like, almost out of body experience,
Mm.
ego death type of experience,
Mm.
and
Kind of regression, like life regression.
like life regression in a sense, right? So like he we laid on the sound bath. By the way, shout out to the Integratron out in Joshua Tree. If you guys never heard about the place, look it up.
Me
Um,
invitan para la próxima.
absolutely, trust. Um, it's an amazing place. The place itself, I'll give you a little bit about it. It's you gonna put it up?
No, no, I'm sorry. You continue. It's because there's a
Got
question
it.
here for you guys as soon as you're
Um,
done with that.
the Integrazone was built in the 70s. It's in like a dome made out of complete wood. There's not even
Mm.
one piece of metal in it.
Mhm.
So the acoustics are like they're playing sound inside your ears.
Yeah.
Literally, like the person who's playing, imagine Slash inside your ear playing
Yeah.
a guitar.
Yeah.
But they're not playing guitars, they're playing sound bowls,
Mhm.
which each sound bowl, if anybody knows, they're aligned to all your chakras, right? So you go into this place, this partner of mine, he's vibing. He's high energy, high vibration happening into the sound bath. And sound bath is about 45 minutes. And we all take the sound bath. And when he comes out of the sound bath, the only words that come out of him are, I'm a crocodile. And I look at him, I'm like, me and A look at him like, what are you talking about? You know, like we're sitting in a piece of wood, and he's like, I'm a crocodile. And I'm like, whatever. So like whatever, we vibe out, we go back out to the Airbnb, chill the whole night. They take off. Next morning, he's back in LA. He calls us and he's like, I'm from the crocodile people. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I'm from Filipino descent, but in Papua New Guinea, which is an island off the coast of Philippines, there's people who are ancestrals and still live there who are crocodile people. They wear crocodile skin on top of their back. So that day, the only thing we could forbid what he said is like you were having some type of ancestral vibes being pulled through you,
You have like
and
a
you were
soul
learning.
regression.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because I've also had those experiences, but to see somebody else have it, somebody that I care for and I'm dear to right now, is to teach them and to let them learn about the fact that there is more than this and there is more than we expect and the more that we've thought about. You know, there's more to what we're trying to let people evoke themselves into. Because I always tell people, oh, you want to try shrooms? Why? Do you even know where you're from? Let's evoke that first and see where your originality comes from and why you want to do this. Because if you want to have that type of connection, that's great. I'm all out for it. But you also need to know why. You know, that's just like this.
Why you're being called to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like they said, like just don't do it. I'm all about people are all about the fads and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, why you doing is the intent, right? And that's what we're always talking about. It's like the intent behind it is super important because it's gonna teach you about yourself. Do you want to know, or are you scared of that?
Because you can never go back.
Absolutely.
Once the veil is lifted to certain constructs that we've been living under, it's like you how do you go back? You can't go back. You know, you have to move forward with the information that you have. It's like realizing how powerful you are.
Yes.
And then saying like, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna still be small. When I was in Tulum, we had this it was like a Kundalini activation, and I felt that.
Breathing. A lot of breathing.
This one was all about surrender. All you had to do was lie there, and there was practitioners doing their energetic thing. And going back to like acoustics, like where we were at, it was this beautiful place, and the energy was so strong I had to open my eyes. And when I opened my eyes, it's like the ceiling of the place just fucking blew off. And it's like I had an orgasm with the universe, and the universe was like, look at you, look at how fucking powerful you are. And at that moment, I just started busting out in laughter. And I could not control it. It was like, it just happened. My body was just like this release. And I remember telling myself, like, you're in a room with all of these people. And then
Doesn't matter.
that just made me laugh even
more,
harder.
Even more, like,
at one point, it got maniacal. Like, it was fucking
well,
amazing.
that hysteria that happens, right? It's like an instant hysteria, right? It's like I don't give a fuck about what's happening right now, right? Like I don't care who's looking, and that's sometimes that's what we need in life, you know. Like we live with all these constructs around
no
us. So
judgment.
no judgment release is what we need. And like that's what sometimes the festivals are for. You know, like we live this 9 to 5 life, right? And then you're able to go out to this festival for 4.5 days, 5 days. Burning Man, 8 days, crazy fucks. And go out there and you're not living by today's constructs when you're there. You know, you're not thinking about I need to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I'll tell you from personal experience. We go out to festivals and it's like sleeping's not an option.
Right.
It's like we're gonna live out these 4 days as hard as we can because
we're gonna do the thing.
You know, we're gonna do the thing because there's no point of like thinking about the way we also live all the time. Why? We're trying to release and let go because we have to go back to that in order to be successful human beings and have what we want in life and be productive in our society, correct? But at the same time, those constructs don't let us be who we really are. You know what I mean? And that's something that we have to learn. Like a lot of people don't really know who they are. And that's important to know who you are, especially from not 23 and me type of shit. I don't believe in that.
Like deciding who you want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
it's like going into, sometimes you look at life and it's like walking into a high school spill out after lunch, right? You look at all these freaks in the corner dressed in black because they like goth music and rock music, and you like all these hip hop guys wearing Southport clothing and batons in their head. It's like, and New York Yankee hats to the side, and it's like all these different parallels that we have. Like, we're not built that way. Like that's what society wants us to be, right? Like at the end of the day, We're all the same color. We all bleed red, you know. And
Well, some of us bleed blue, Dodger blue. Thank you very much. I just had to say that.
All right, that's it.
I'm gonna say something here, which my girlfriend's gonna look at me all weird,
Ricky,
but
mute the mic.
I'm muting them right here.
Please.
Here we go. Mute
Oh
them.
no!
yeah.
Listen,
we're all for the
listen,
Phillies
we're all
now.
going for the Phillies,
I'm
right?
going for the Phillies,
nobody wants the
yes.
Astros, bitch
Fuck
ass
the
Astros to win, right?
Astros,
The
Bullshit,
Astros.
two is Mitch's ass.
fucking
Alright, so,
cheater
like,
asses.
The
Yeah.
asterisks.
Okay, let's get back. Yeah, the
Yeah,
asterisks. Fuck
so
them
we all
both.
bleed red, and then at the end of the day, we want to. We're all the same. You know, like there's no color barrier. Those are all constructs by today's living
Yeah,
culture,
we're
right?
energy.
We're all energies having the human experience.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? They always say that this soul lived a million lives. I believe in that.
Yeah.
Mushrooms have taught me that. I've lived somebody else's life on mushrooms, and you come back, it's like, was that me? Do I have kids somewhere else? And then you come back, you're like, it
Listen.
wasn't me, but it
Par-
could have been me.
Parallel existences. Yeah.
That's another show. But
Definitely is
definitely, if
another
you
show,
want
yeah.
to talk about that, we can talk about that.
Let's
Like,
do it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good. That's
let's
a
do it.
cool. Like those are cool topics to talk
Yeah.
about. We can invoke on that whenever you want.
Mhm.
But yeah, sometimes on mushrooms, you are living somebody else's life for 6 hours, and then you come back, you're like, was that me or was that you? Or who is? And sometimes also like when you do it in community, especially if you like we went to Joshua Tree, that community is everlasting. You know that
Absolutely.
experience, like going to the Tegratron, to everybody, it's a life altering experience.
I'm all about those.
Because
Yeah.
when you go to that and you come back, you never look at yourself again the same way or the ones around you that day, because
Right.
that experience is wholesome. It's real because it's not that you see it, you feel it through your body, which is sometimes uncanny to anything else. You know,
Yeah.
you're like literally feeling your vibration, somebody else's vibration, the
Yes.
way they're feeling, the way I'm feeling, and that unity
Mhm.
that you bring together with people will never be that
Yeah.
bond. It's like stuck.
And all that we're talking about, like these constructs and all these things, it's the system does not want us to be free, because when we're free, damn, we fucking blow the roof off of places. And so that's the piece, right? Is that we're coming into our power, and that's what embodiment is as well. Being in your power of your divinity, of who you are, like you're unfuck withable, when you're in that space. And it's interesting because even in spaces where it is community, everyone doesn't have the same experience. It like, what prisons have you released yourself from is gonna help you to have a more profound experience. I don't know if profound is the right word, because I don't want to make it about levels or yours is better or mine is worse, but it's
It's
like it's
having
a
the
it's a
experience.
progression, right? Of like, as much as you start liberating yourself and being true, feeling like you are truly free, that's what allows you to keep progressing to these spaces of like higher consciousness. And but also there's a piece around, we still live in a place where we have to abide by certain shit, right? Like, we hear the siren and our body tenses up and we fucking freak the fuck out and all of those things. But the more that you practice on your embodiment journey, on your consciousness journey, like, that starts lessening. But you're still aware of everything that's happening, right? Like, that doesn't go away, because we're not truly free and liberated till we all are free and liberated, and all of these things. That's why we got to burn the fucking system down. You were gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like just to talk about embodiment, just to top
Mhm.
it off on top of that, right? I don't know if a lot of you guys know who Alex Gray is. Alex Gray is an advocate for psychedelics. As a great artist, an amazing artist, and I would like to read a passage about what he
Yes.
believes what embodiment is.
Please.
It'd be kind of cool to listen to this because it's kind of deep, kind of funny, and kind of crazy at the same time.
I love it. Let's go.
So it says, embodiment, as suggested by Alex Gray. Embodiment isn't always easy. Not simply is it difficulty to obtain, but in what lingers, waiting to be found. Shadows flicker amidst the light, dancing in the body's depth,
Mhm.
awaiting a gaze deep enough to penetrate. I have felt the undying bliss of dying in myself, only to encounter my greatest self. And yet, as Alec Gray has suggested, to be connected to all beings, to be connected to all suffering and all beings, shaken in the face of unfathomable sorrow, touches a caress by the hand of grace. I have come to learn that within this body are held the wounds as well as the gifts of my ancestors, my people across time and space. And at the depth of unmeasurable, these treasures percolate to the surface, infused with every thought, feeling, and action. Sometimes it takes the hand of a trusted teacher. For me, it's ayahuasca medicine, within which unearthed the multitudes of wisdom enveloped within flesh.
That's deep. That's deep. And I can tell you that I have experienced a taste of that in my recent retreat. It was heart chakra day. Just all of the things that we did. We did a community self pleasure circle, which in and of itself, it was just so fucking powerful. But all the things that transcribed in that day, I want to cry just even thinking about it. I don't know what I thought bliss was. I don't know. But I know that I hadn't experienced it until that day.
Wow.
Feeling so free to just be, to be in this beautiful community, to be in touch and in tune with my body, with other people. Like it was just so beautiful. And I will never be the same ever again because now I know what bliss is. And people might think that it's silly or whatnot, but until you feel it, like it's almost like it's untouchable, and but then when you experience it, you know that you can get to it again.
Yeah.
And I have the chills. Like my life will never be the same ever again because I know what bliss feels like in my body. And it doesn't feel like just an orgasm. It doesn't feel um like the best food that you can eat is just this like communion with
Love and gratitude and like everything else that has a great
existence.
happiness in your life.
Like, I mean, it just blew my heart wide open, and I laughed because we had a community meeting just the other day to keep in touch, right? And what I shared was like I was coming to Tantra Fest thinking like I was going to get 80% sex mixed with 20% spirituality. I was like I was ready to come bust my pussy open, and my heart busted open, and I will never ever be the same again. Like I
Yes.
am the embodiment of a fucking goddess. And the power that I have,
It's yours.
unfuckwithable.
Yeah.
Unfuckwithable. Although listen, the valet earlier kind of got me a little bit, but no, like when you have those experiences, fuck, your life blows wide fucking open to the possibilities that are ahead of you.
It also teaches you too that the small shit in life doesn't really fucking matter, because there's a lot of shit in life that people like hold on to, and I guess like simple argument with a sister or a cousin or something like that, like for who? Why are you holding on to that? Like it's just like you're holding on to it because you don't know how to release,
Yeah.
and releasing is important.
They're programmed that way.
We're
programmed that way,
it's
yeah.
what we're programmed us to be, right? But like as a male, right? It's we have this construct. Be strong, be this, and that. You could also be strong, but you also could be vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you're 10 times stronger than when you're not. All right. So like it's you vulnerability makes you stronger because it lets you touch parts of your life and other people's parts of your life that can invoke something, impart something into their life and into yours. You know what I mean? It's very important to be able to open yourself and speak about
Yes.
your problems and not feel judged. And if they judge you, fuck them. All right.
Support. Yeah, like
Yeah, support
that
is
that
important.
that's another fucking episode, is like talking about how the fucking patriarchy oppresses men
Yeah,
also.
for sure.
You know, we females, we out here, we think like we own the fucking oppression Olympics, and it's like, no, listen, y'all men,
Pass the baton. Pass the baton.
like, I mean, we are all oppressed by the patriarchy, but for
Yeah.
men, I think it's like, man, there's so many facets of like this facade of power, because it really isn't. Because in order to have power, you have to basically act like an asshole, and it robs you of your
Of your
feelings,
your
of your
integrity and your
emotions,
integrity
of
first
your
and foremost.
of having a full fucking human
Yeah,
experience.
exactly. The mushrooms
That
are
part.
inside of us.
Rick, did we have a question? Because
Yeah.
we went deep.
So yeah, we do. So we have a great question from Eric Ramirez here saying, trying to convince my wife to try. I think her and a lot of the women in her family, Mexican women, can really benefit from psilocybin due to the strict beliefs and ideologies we have in our culture. I feel it can help them live a little more in the moment. How can I help convince her
Yeah, yeah.
and eventually them? That's
All right.
AIDS got this.
I got a I got a perfect approach. Um, we're gonna step into what psilocybin or magic mushrooms are classified. So, and psilocybin is actually classified as an entheogen. So they're classified as an entheogenic medicine. So there's another product that's also classified as an entheogenic medicine, and it's cacao.
Mm.
So I really think that probably for your wife and for the women in the family, I would go with something that's a ceremonial cacao and do a ceremonial cacao experience with them. Um, there's a lot of ceremonial cacao that is from Mexico, all right, and it will really help them connect with their ancestrage. Um, what an entheogen does, at least what cacao does, is it helps open up the heart chakra, and it opens them up to be able to be more receptive as to what you're going to be presenting to them. So my advice would be start off with a ceremonial cacao. You can look it up online, different ways to go about it, how to obtain it. You do the ceremonial cacao with them, you drink it, and then you have like a little, maybe a communal discussion or whatever you want to talk about, and help them get there. I was doing the ceremonial cacao for a while, just on my own to see the benefits, and I would notice I would start tearing up watching certain shows
Mm,
just out of nowhere. Just
yeah.
like, and I'm like, oh, there's something that's opening up here in the center
Yeah.
that's just allowing, just softening me up. So, and I really think that for beginners, you'll be able to get almost the same effect, but without any psychedelic visions.
Mhm.
All right. Um, and you can really get them probably maybe primed for then the mushrooms.
Mhm.
What I like to really do is when I do my ceremony,
Mhm.
I do the ceremony of cacao and then I grind up my mushrooms and I throw them into my ceremony
Oh, I
cacao and
love
I
that.
drink it.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
and like that, my heart gets open and it's ready to receive
Mhm.
what the mushrooms have to teach it.
Mhm.
So and it really primes the body for what's to come.
Yeah.
So and I think that for anyone who's like a newbie who wants to kind of like be in this realm, to try the ceremonial cacao
Mhm.
and to do that first and then go from there.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
love
like
that's a beautiful suggestion.
yeah.
yeah.
I'm actually planning to have a ceremonial cacao. No, not a self pleasure
Oh.
session. If you guys would have seen what A's gesturing right now, not listen. I tried to do like a self pleasure thing, but I got no biters. I got nobody was. I called it pussy platicas, and I didn't even say yo. Let's like self pleasure together. Pussy platicas alone just shut everything and everyone down. We're getting there. We're getting there. Um No, but I'm actually having the person who did our ceremonial cacao in Tulum. I'm bringing her to LA in January, and we're gonna have a big community ceremony. So if you're interested, you can follow me on Instagram at Lotus Hustle, and you could just message me. Was that Eric? Just let me know. Hey, like I listened to the episode. I'm interested. There'll be more information to come. It will be MLK weekend. At some point during the weekend, we're gonna have a big ceremonial, like a big cacao ceremony, and it was the first time I had ever done it. And she's actually Haitian, but she was singing in Spanish, and it was quite beautiful. She's everything that she's doing, she's been taught in Mexico, and she administered the other plant medicine that I did, which was cambo. It's a secretion from a frog, and that was also
The bird.
yes,
Where did you get it?
on my legs, the side of my legs.
So you went deep.
You know, it was interesting because the experience I was expecting to have was not the experience that I had. I was already feeling very connected to my ancestors while being there, and so I was expecting more of that. But the experience that I had was all body.
Yeah, so
It was
it's
all body, and I regret it when I was in it. But that was obviously the onion is like peeling, and I'm understanding why. But
yeah.
that's why she's coming back, because I'm doing the warrior cleanse, which is 3 cycles of Kembo within a 30-day, within a moon cycle.
Got it.
Because it has changed me so much that I'm like, I need to do the warrior cleanse, yo. I'm in it. Let's
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, take the leap of faith
Yes.
and dive in.
So if you guys are interested in, participating in that, just hit me up, because she's coming in January, and she is just this beautiful soul, and
Yeah, you already got one right here.
she's
I'm
in it.
interested in. I'll DM you. I want to say that's
is that?
Marlena.
Marlena. Oh yes. Oh, Marlena. She's not far. She's in Chino. But yes, community cacao ceremony, beautiful. Loved it. And like I'm like, I need to learn the songs. I want to sing the songs, my ancestors like songs and words. So it's really beautiful. Rick, anything else in the chat?
Yeah, so there was another comment by John Smith saying everybody benefits, makes the brain open up and reprogram. That's when you guys were referring to the psilocybin and like the events that you were talking about. And then High Priestess here is saying that's like a tagline out of a coming of age story. LOL. Your comment where she says, where you said busting your heart open, busting your pussy
I was ready to
open.
bust my pussy open,
Yeah.
but my heart busted open instead.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, all together. Let's go. I want it all.
When John Smith, Pocahontas' boyfriend,
Pocahontas abuser.
colonizer.
Yeah.
Just kidding, John Smith. When he says reprogramming, he's talking about like neurogenesis. The word.
Talk about that, please.
So
Yeah.
neurogenesis is we sit here and forget that we say we're out of bones and flesh, right? At the end of the day, but we're 80% water, and our brain is electrically connected to our body. It's a neurological pattern happening in our brains to convey the ouch in your arm to your brain to tell you this, right? When you get pinched. But when we have neurogenesis, what we're doing is having new neural pathways being open inside your brain that get you to a point to see. I explain to people. People say, "Oh no, when you say mushrooms, you're gonna see little midgets pop out of nowhere." That doesn't happen. You may go into other realms where you see things that are not there, but in a small dosage, when you see things vibrate or breathe with you, it's really the fact that we forget that everything around us is matter.
Yeah.
Protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? So our eyes are not programmed to see the vibration that comes out of everyday life. So when you do take some type of psychedelic, sometimes our eyes are open because those neurogenesis is happening in your pathways in your brain are being open, and your eyes are telling you, look what you're seeing. You're literally seeing the vibration of matter itself. And you'll see trails. We're also made out of protein, everything. So like we tend to forget that, like we live in this world of looking up on your phone and googling it, right? But what happened to like sitting in science class in 7th grade and like talking to the ugly teacher with glasses, like like it's like, hey man, protons and neutrons is a nucleus, and there's stuff in the middle that vibrates
Right.
and it creates the constructs of our living, right? So we forget about that. We take everything for granted and we forget those things.
Right. And remember back in our day, it was like, what was they thought was whatever they thought was the smallest thing. Guess what? We fucking cracked that bitch open.
Exactly.
And
So
there's a
there's
whole other
ways
universe in
exactly.
there.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like that Rick and Morty episode. I don't know if everybody watches Rick and Morty here, but it's the episode where they go inside the universe inside the universe, and it's like they're sitting inside. It's the universe inside his battery, inside his spaceship. It's like, but they live the same life that we live out here, just pumping energy to get the battery to work, and that's all they know. And that's today with the way we live. We live on the 405, stuck on traffic,
Yeah.
right? Trying to get to from point A to point Z and make some money to continue that everyday life, right?
Yeah.
And we have to break away from that sometimes. We have to let go. We have to release,
Yeah.
and we have to open our minds to better possibilities.
Yes.
I don't suggest to anyone that's any antidepressants or any anti or SSRIs to take psychedelics. I'll let
That's
you
important,
I'll
yeah.
let you post some stuff. I'll give you some information. You
Mhm.
can post it so the listeners could read about themselves and they could evoke themselves into learning about
prepare themselves to actually take the self-exploring journey,
Mhm.
but there's some caution and some like certain precautions and
Yes.
They should be
steps
taken.
that
With
you need to take.
anything, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So, like we said, first and foremost, are things about education.
Yeah.
And there's other people making mushrooms and everything, and you can get a product, but our main thing is pointing in the right direction so you can have a good experience.
Yes.
You know,
I love that. I love the intention that you guys have behind your product. I have personally tried the product. I highly recommend 10 out of 10. Try it.
it doesn't mean eat all 10.
No, no.
Okay.
No.
Definitely
I mean, you
not.
can, right?
You can.
You can, but you might fall asleep.
But,
If you
yeah.
take that much.
Well, I mean,
Who knows?
it is 4 grams or an eighth, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
typically you take an eighth.
Well, let's touch upon that
Yeah.
real quick. Is that people have a misjudgment on how to take this stuff, right?
Okay.
Like that's the one thing that we try to educate the most people, because everybody's like, "Oh, I took a cap, I popped a cap, and I ate a stem." And there's a debate: is the cap or the stem is stronger? Who's stronger, right? So,
Cap and
and there's
stem, catch a wave on us.
yeah, exactly. So like there's a debate happening, right? Where like you don't know. So like everything in life is measured, right? Like when
Right.
we drink a 12-ounce beer, we drink a 12-ounce can of Coke, we pour a shot that's 1 ounce of liquor into our cups. We know where that gets us
Yeah.
and where it could take us, And as you progress with that, the same thing with mushrooms. You could always take more. You can never take less, right? And we always suggest that, because at the end of the day, you need to learn how to
Yes.
add yourself what the experience is that you want, right? What's
Yeah.
your intent with this,
Right.
right? There's people that take macro doses. A macro dose is anywhere between 4 and 7 grams of any really strong psilocybin or
Mhm.
mushroom. That is taking you somewhere where you may not want to go, or do you? So like by that's a hero dose. Yeah, so the hero
That is
dose.
definitely
Yeah.
like you need to block out time, a lot of time,
Yeah,
and have somebody,
I'll watch over, or
Yes,
stuff,
in
a
right?
on you.
Sherpa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then as far as like creating a product where people could easily take it and ingest it with good flavor, a good experience, good intent behind it
Yes.
is important, because like that the education process starts. And like that you can always tell a person, listen, the gummies are 0.4, which is almost close to half a gram. If you were to purchase a 4-gram bag and you were to microdose that 4-gram bag at 0.2, which is half a gummy, you have about 20 doses in your month.
Mhm.
And then that's something that you could really start using as a
Right.
daily basis, where you
Mhm.
can see some effects happening to you better and better every day.
Right.
And that's upon the consumer, of course. Some people may want to take a little bit more, but the suggested dose for a microdose is about 0.2 of a gram,
Mhm.
2 days on, 1 day off.
Okay.
right? So like you do Monday, Tuesday, you have Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, you have Saturday off. If you follow that course, you'll take it about 20 days in a month.
I like that.
Our packaging has 10 pieces of gummy at point 0.4, so you
Mhm.
can be able to take 20 pieces at point 0.2.
Right.
It's important that people always start off slow, as
Yes.
suggested, and find a common ground between what they want and what
Mhm.
they're trying to achieve.
And
Mm.
it's a relationship you're building with it. So there is no right or wrong or no amount. Like as you start building this relationship, you may start off with one, you may start off with half, and then you may want to go in deep, and you may have that day you may want to take 5 or 3. You go in deeper to have that deeper inner experience with yourself.
Right.
So and there is no like wrong way to go about it. Everyone as they get more comfortable with themselves, they can go in deeper and explore. And
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll still benefit from it.
yeah, and there's no rush. This
That
body is
part.
yours. It's
Yes.
going nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you have all the time to explore your
I
own
got
body
all
as
the
long as as
time
many times as you want.
in
So that's
the
why you
world.
don't need to rush into it. Just know that it's not going anywhere. You're not
Yeah.
going anywhere, and you have this body to play with however you want to. Your mind, your body, it's yours. No one can take it away from you.
Absolutely. I would be so curious if anybody out there has curated microdosing that sync like with a woman's cycle.
Are you talking about like a psilocybin lube?
No, 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 like their moon cycle,
Their
their
moon cycle.
Oh,
period.
the moon
Yeah.
cycle. Like
Yeah, like knowing where our body is, like at specific times,
Well,
ovulation, whatnot, and like
well
kind
that
of
variates.
bring like a
There's a huge
dosage.
variation in that. Not all
Yeah.
women cycle at the same time, but at the same time, we could always work on something where there's, like de-stressing the woman at that point where she's really stressed out because the cycle happened where it wasn't supposed to. So like it's
Like what?
it may work like that. Listen, like where sexual psychedelic
Mhm.
therapy may work in where just one of the partners takes the psilocybin
Listen, where
and the
is
other
that
one,
trial? Because
and
I
then
will sign
you
up
know
for
what I mean.
that.
And then that
Sign
other
me up for
one,
those
and then that
trials.
other person is the one who's over here like I'm gonna create this experience
Yes.
for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it has to be a give and go. You know what I said? Let's say like the woman takes it and she lays back and the guy just goes ham in there and just like, listen, you worry about floating in the universe and whatever I do to you, create the colors in your mind or whatever,
Mhm.
and listen to something, and just she feels like she's in the clouds. But if two people are on it, it's very hard because it's like two
Listen.
people who don't know how to. They're tripping out so hard. So it's like
Yeah.
for that, you may need one of the partners to be on it so that
please.
you have that other person that can go in and really create this feeling, this experience for the other
Yeah.
partner.
Let's curate a sexual frequency dosage. We'll get a playlist going. We'll get some suggestions.
So
Yeah,
so
we
like,
need a milking
always
table.
when it comes to taking psychedelics, the first thing you always have to take into general consensus is that you could always take more. You
Mhm.
can never take less.
Right.
You could always find a safe space with safe people around you.
Yes.
Okay, that's always important. You don't want to be in an altered state where you feel uncomfortable by the peers around you.
Yes.
That's very important.
Absolutely.
Okay, because we live in a cruel world and people like to take advantage of people. And we're not trying to promote any of that, but at the same time, it is what it is, right? So we have to tell people to be conscious
Yes.
of having a safe space to be in this altered state,
Absolutely.
right? That's very important. That's part of the education process. All this, and like that's
Mhm.
like we don't want we want to help people in the utmost with the utmost respect, and
Yeah.
that's the main goal. We're not trying to anything like deviate anybody with
Yes.
anything that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's
You're here to enhance and help people to thrive, not put themselves in dangerous situations
yeah.
for the.
There's like we spoke about like being to connect with your partner in a sexual embodiment with each other,
Mhm.
right? Some people have been abused in every facet of the way, right? It
Right.
could be XYZ, right? And then psilocybin could actually help you overcome that trauma in order to be open with your next partner, right? So like that's important to a lot of people because they can't have that connection, that
Absolutely.
embodiment with the next person they really want to have that embodiment with, right? And that being said, we have to help people try to not cope, is work through the problem. Coping is, I don't like the word coping. It's like giving up on yourself.
You're
It's
still
like
not dealing with it. You're
you're
just
not dealing,
tolerating
you're
the
tolerating the
situation.
situation, and it's something more important to like deal with the situation and learn from the situation so you don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot of embodiment practices out there and practitioners that you can look to support you. Anybody who is going through that, releasing trauma. We're in California. We're a lot more, loose over here. Or I don't even want to say loose, but that was a wrong that was a wrong term that I used. But like seek support, seek a team,
We're not loose over here. Like I've only been living here for 6 years, but at the same time, it's a more open thought process. Is
Yes.
what we're gonna
We're
say.
more open-minded.
It's an open-minded
Bust the
process.
pussy open over here.
Bust it. It's just that open-mindedness that lets us become who we are. Like at the end of the day, we're not trying to be told what to do, right? Like the First Amendment is what? Freedom of speech, right? And we're here to talk, be who we are, and who we are is
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Right. So that being said, we want to be able to evoke ourselves and open and voice our voices in
Yes.
any aspects of our life, whether you're male, female, black, white, Chinese, Mexican, Cuban, Puerto Rican, doesn't matter. Let's not leave the Eastern Europeans out of this, but I don't want to leave nobody out. But at the same time, it's being open to
Yes.
be liked and be not judged and be okay with who you are. There's nothing wrong with doing whatever you want to do. Just be open, respect each other. It's always
That
important.
part, consent and respect.
Yeah, consent and respect is always important. You shouldn't be talking
It's a
about.
must. Yeah.
It's a must, right? Like we have a youngins that are growing up, and we want them to have their own thought process, right?
Yes.
We don't want them to believe what the constructs are giving them, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're just trying to help people here.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add, any final thoughts? Because we went, we over.
Yeah.
Oh, we started late though,
No,
so
no, we-
Did we
No.
really?
No, definitely. I think for the first, for the ending of the season, I think we covered most of the topics. We answered the questions that were out there.
Mhm. We
yeah.
did. And yes, you guys made a mushroom gummy. You heard that correctly. Mushroom gummy. You can follow the Instagram, which is
it's Fung Factory Farms at IG. You can follow us on Twitter as well. We also have a Telegram channel
oh,
where
okay.
you can see like cultivation processes.
Oh, that's dope.
The whole thing.
Yeah,
We have other products in the making coming out.
I'm excited for that. Yeah.
We have a honey coming out soon. There's a chocolate bar coming out soon, and we got an amazing news this week, which you want to say talk about it, or you want to just wait till it fruitions, or you want to just put it out there?
We'll wait for it to fruition.
Got it.
Maybe we'll have you guys on for season 3 episode, the first episode of the season. Maybe you'll have some news for us.
Yeah, we can
We'll
call
see.
it Pop the Shroom.
Yay!
Um,
I love it.
yeah, just follow us on Fun Factory Farms. J and A are just two fun guys that like to cultivate mushrooms.
We like to get silly.
Yeah,
I
like
love.
to get
Hey,
our
I
product.
like that.
That's funny. It's true. I'm not plugging the product. Sorry, the product's called Silly. Our slogan is "Let's get silly."
I love it.
Because
the
at the end of the day,
shirt, yeah.
silly is wholesome, right? Like just so you're
Yes.
happy, having a
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah.
You could be a 4-year-old acting silly with
Yes.
chocolate all over your face, but you could be an
Yeah, I
adult
love it.
Adult acting like a kid.
acting like a
Yes.
kid with chocolate
Yes.
all over your face. You know what I mean? While
Yeah.
eating some of my mushroom gummies, but at the same time, it's invoking that spiritual of like letting go and being able to
Beautiful.
be yourself.
Yeah.
We don't want to be nobody else but ourselves.
Fucking love that. If you can't be silly, Come
Right, if
on.
you can't be sitting with yourself and you can't look at the
Yeah.
mirror and say, "Who's that ugly person in the mirror doing
Yeah.
stupid stuff?" Then who can you say it
Mm.
with, right? So
Yeah.
like,
Listen,
that's
it's gonna make you ugly if you say that and do that. But yeah,
yeah,
it's that erotic innocence too,
yeah,
right?
absolutely,
Just
absolutely.
going back to that nature
Yeah.
of just fucking being
Be able to let go and
innocent
not worried
and
about anything.
yeah, that part. Y'all,
That part.
this was such a great episode. I want to just thank J and A for being here, for letting us pop your cherries. We love popping cherries here, Virgin Vibes. And I'm gonna I said vibes. Virgin vibes,
Las
because you know,
vibras, las
because
vibras.
Priestess is gonna be like getting me in the chat. I want us all to just raise our solo cups to the finale of season 2. This was episode 47. We are listening to our body and integrating all of the beautiful, wonderful things that we've experienced. So, cheers to rest, cheers to integration, and cheers to new beginnings.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us on.
Definitely.
Hey,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much. This was a great experience. This is our first
Absolutely,
time
absolutely.
on the mic.
I love it. It
Bring it
was
to
all
you.
about it, y'all. We had behind the scenes. He was just like, "I'm ready. Get that mic. Got
Oh,
that
yeah.
sexy voice
We've
going."
been thinking about this for a while. Like, we've been wanting to get our word out there,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
something that when it was presented by the highest priestess, I told, listen, you guys wanted it, I'm down. Like, I'm down
Yeah.
to like do this because like I want to get the practice. I
Yeah.
want to be able to speak my mind about something that I'm passionate
Yes.
about.
I
Right?
wanted a big BBM in front of my mouth.
A big
A
black
big
mic,
what?
Black mic.
a BBM.
A
You know,
BBM.
I mean, sadly,
big
we had
black
to put a
mic.
condom on it, but you know.
Yeah.
you know, we one last thing just to throw a
Yes.
plug in there. The reason why I want to get on a podcast is because like about 3.5 weeks ago, we got endorsed by a comedian that has a podcast,
I love it.
and we kind of like overwhelmed by the fact that it's like, oh, somebody that's kind of like semi-famous,
Yeah.
that's C celebrity, maybe D celebrity type of guy, knew who we were,
Listen.
and then he endorsed it on Twitter, and it's ramped up after that
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. So like, you pop my cherry. And I'm kind of thinking, I was like, let's try to get on his podcast and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it's
Listen,
There
that's
you
the
go.
way. Absolutely.
That's
This
how
is
it
where you
starts.
start. This is
how
where
it
you start.
starts,
You
yeah.
get the jitters out here.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah. There was no
I love it.
This was so good. I felt so
I had some.
natural.
I had some. The whiskey calmed them down.
Yeah. I
I
felt so
love it.
good. Like having a BBM right there close up. It's just so natural for me.
Well,
There's
we
no-
went way past time, so we will not be doing pillow talk. That was our long extended version of pillow talk. Maybe next time we have you guys on, we'll get to some sexy erotic kind of stuff. But thank you for being on. We love you. Thank you for all of you who joined us in the chat. We had Priestess Marlena. I was gonna say Jesus Jones. John Smith.
Jesus Jones.
Eric,
Eric
Um,
Ramirez.
Eric Ramirez. We thank you.
John Smith.
Daisy, thank you for being
Jay
here.
Rizzy.
Jay Rizzy, Drizzy, I don't know however you say that.
Or
Thank you,
or,
Jay.
yeah.
Thank you, A. And thank you, Rick Rock.
Gotcha, girl.
And we are gonna close this episode and this season, like we do every single episode, with the words of my ancestor, my mother, who said, "Play with yourself every night so that you know your body and you know what you like." This is Goddess Lore
Rick Rocks.
A.
And Jay.
signing off for season 2, baby. We'll see you in 2023.
Y'all have a good night.
Salud, y'all.
Besitos.
Have a good night.
Night.
Buenas noches.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.
Peace out.
I'm gonna go be an alien right now. I mean, I'm gonna go let the shroom have a human experience.
All right, we're out.